everyone. My name is Christine Williams, and I'm a real estate coach here to chat with you for a few minutes about how to have a successful career in real estate. So, what's my story? So, I first got my license almost 20 years, well, probably it was 20 years ago, 1996. I was in property management at the time and had friends encourage me to get my real estate license. In property management, as some of you already know, it tops out on the salary range. You can only go so far and do so much, and I wanted more. So I took the real estate course and passed in 1996, and then single female, already had a mortgage and a car payment and set bills, and wasn't really sure when I figured out that you're self-employed with no income. How do I make that leap? And I wanted to ensure my own success. So how was I going to get the bills paid starting a career in real estate? So I didn't do it. I waited until 1999, 3 years later, and decided to take the leap. So I'm somebody that's always taken calculated risks. So I quit my job. I had, I think, $1,000 in my bank account. My father thought I was completely nuts. Maybe he was right, probably so. And he said, what happens if you don't make it? How are you going to make the mortgage payment? I said, you know what? I said, we know I've always been resourceful. I said, so I'll find a way. I'll go back to waiting tables. I'll do whatever it takes. But I'm going to give it 30 days, and I'm going to start this real estate career. So I started my career on what we call a team. I had a sales manager. I got paid, I believe it was $1,000 a month, and 20% of the commission on the buying side. If I were to get a listing lead, I had to pass that off to what we call the rainmaker, the team lead. And it was intense for the first 8 months of my career. Back in those days, we had reverse phone directories, and we cold called for business. We literally, the sales manager went to our little bullpen and picked the page and said, hey, Christine, start right here. So from 8 till 11, we were in our little bullpens, very intense, and cold called people asking for business. Got hung up on a gazillion times, got cussed out just as many. And every once in a while, you found somebody who was willing to chat with you, who either was interested in selling or buying a house soon or knew somebody who was. And those were the golden nuggets, my friends. So at 11 o'clock every day, we had our sales meeting, and we got to report the number of contacts we made, which, by the way, had to be a minimum of 25 real estate interactive conversations. So how many calls we made, how many contacts, the actual conversations, and then how many leads. And then if we were so lucky, how many appointments did we actually make? And we had to report those in front of the entire team. And it was very humiliating when you didn't make your numbers. So that was my life. And then prior to checking in at 8 o'clock every morning, I did that famous thing that we all hate to do, role playing and scripting. I met a veteran agent out typically at McDonald's for breakfast. And we would go through scripting together, and we would alternate between being the customer or client, if you will, and the agent, and would do different scenarios every morning. So that was my day. So now we're at up till lunchtime, and then you break for lunch, and then the afternoons were for the appointments that you made either the day before or prior, or perhaps you got lucky and made one that morning. You check back in with the sales manager between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon to report back on your activities of the afternoon. Then you broke for dinner, and I often met that agent that I was scripting with in the mornings, as well as another colleague or two, and we'd usually go out for dinner, which obviously included some adult libations once in a while. And we talked about our days. We maybe did some more role playing or talked about some objection handling at the dinner table. And then, honest to God, got back on the phones again, because remember, you can call people up until 9 o'clock. And that was my life for the first 8 months. So how much money did that make me my first year? Oh, I'm thinking it was like $23,000. How did that sound to you? Yeah. So did you know that the average real estate agent only makes $9,000 in their first year of business? And nationally speaking, according to the National Association of Realtors, most recent statistics, the average realtor makes $47,000 a year. Is that what you're looking for? Yeah, I didn't think so. So there are ways that you can absolutely be a six-figure producer, meaning that you're grossing $100,000 or more in the real estate industry on a consistent basis. So throughout my career, I've learned what to do, what not to do. I've done what not to do. So now in my role as a real estate coach, I'm here to help people avoid the what not to do and just get into the good habits and the good practices of what to do. So we know about my first year, so what happened after that? Here I am 20 years later, still surviving real estate. So each year I consistently made a percentage more, like maybe I went from 23, I think the second year was 40-some thousand, third year was 60-some, and then finally by the fourth year, breakthrough, 6 figures. So by the time I was, I think, 34 years old as a single female, I was living in my own 3-bedroom house that I owned, well, technically the bank, aka via a mortgage. However, I was owning a home versus being a renter. I also owned another 3-bedroom home that I had converted into a rental. It was a previous home. And I owned 2 duplexes, meaning 2 units each. So I literally had my house and 5 rental units by the time I was 34. So I just had a great life, and for some reason something was still missing. So I decided to relocate by myself, left my houses, and moved to a beach community in the Northeast Florida area called Ponte Vedra Beach. Very affluent, cool place to be. So I had to reinvent myself. Well, guys, that was 2005. So that was not a good time to have a little midlife crisis at 34 years old, just telling you. So I went over there for a year. Real estate was about to decline, and there was a lot of new construction going on in the area, and things were just coming to a halt. New communities had become just dirt construction sites. So moved back to Tallahassee into my home that I still owned, and worked there for a bit, and back and forth. So for the next few years, I was back and forth between the 2 cities, trying to figure out where my place was again. I'd lost my way. And now we're in the throes of a recession, as many of you will recall. So I finally moved back in the late 2009, whatever it was. And I started doing what's called broker price opinions, which are a glorified appraisal that those of us with a broker's license are allowed to do. But they didn't pay $200, $300, and $400 per valuation. The banks were paying you $40, $60, $50 for these very detailed reports. So that's how I survived after having been used to earning 6 figures. So my income was probably $30,000, $40,000 a year at this point. So wow, what a change, huh? So then I decided to reinvent myself again. I became the sales manager for a well-known franchise. Did that for a while, and have to say, while it was rewarding in some regards, I've never been somebody that wants to babysit adults. So I gave that up. I eventually became a site rep for a builder. Love new construction. So I got to learn that side of the industry, which is very fascinating as well. And that just, more experience and education under my belt. So I did that for a while. And then I finally went back into what we call general real estate with a franchise, where I had the opportunity to be a real estate coach, which was my dream role for many years, underneath their, the umbrella of their franchise within their organization. So that was a very rewarding experience. It's been heartwarming. I've learned a lot in my role. It's created a lot of self-growth, hopefully for the people that were in my program, as well as for me personally. And so here we are in 2019, and I have launched my own real estate coaching company because my passion is simply to help others reach their goals by sharing my experience and education and hopefully inspiring them to create a sustainable real estate career. So that's kind of my story. Christine Williams, and my company's called Boundless Coaching. I can be reached at integrity and authenticity, all spelled out, Google it if you need to, at gmail.com. And then my question to you is, what's your story? Would love to hear from you.